As we move on to painting the hero characters for Nemesis Retaliation, we're ditching the airbrush and using rattle cans to speed paint these miniatures. I like using rattle cans to create a quick OSL effect to designate player color. I find this is a more interesting way to designate player color than painting the rim of the base or using a snap-on plastic base ring. Of course, I'll continue this series by painting a slap chop version of the prototype miniature as well. But for now, let's get started rattle can speed painting the heavy gunner for Nemesis Retaliation. Welcome to Trehane Miniatures. I take the same initial approach with all miniatures that I paint in this style. I begin by choosing a rattle can paint color that is slightly darker than the OSL color that I want. For this red OSL, I'm choosing Rust-Oleum Colonial Red. I spray this color directly over the black primer on one side of the miniature. I spray the back of the miniature from an angle that is a little above the miniature and slightly to one side. I try to do this on the least interesting side of the miniature. So for example, on this particular miniature, I sprayed the red from the rear and slightly to the model's left where the huge gun is blocking the character's face. That way, I can paint the rest of the face without any OSL effect. And that will be the focal point for the piece. Next, I use matte white to highlight within the red spray paint area. I begin with some basic edge highlighting, and as the amount of paint decreases on my brush, I switch to more of a traditional dry brush application. I'm not too careful about how I highlight features within the red spray paint area. I just want to make sure not to hit any of the surrounding black primer. I used to call this style of painting half chop, because I'm basically slap chopping half the miniature with a single color. These highlights can be colored with the appropriate colored speed paint, or I could use regular acrylic paints as a glaze so that it looks like bright reflected light. Red tends to be the most difficult color for me to do in this style. What I've learned is that red acrylic paint is translucent enough that it shouldn't be thinned as much to read as red OSL. Thinning this red paint to a glaze consistency results in very pink looking highlights. I've also run into the same issue with red speed paints, where it either looks too pink or some can even appear too dark and completely obliterate the highlights. This scarlet red game color has become my go-to paint for red OSL. With the OSL out of the way, I turn my attention to the skin. I'm going for a dark skin tone with the heavy gunner, so I lay down a foundation of German camo black-brown. There is very little real estate to cover with the skin on this character. Only the face, fingers, and right bicep is exposed on this sculpt. As you'll see in a future video, the prototype miniature gives us a little more skin to work with since her upper arm is exposed. This miniature's pants have very little area to paint as well. This is the main advantage of half chop. Half the miniature has been painted very quickly, leaving only small areas of each component left to paint. I'm going to use heavy khaki for the pants so they get the same shadow layer of German camo black-brown. This is a great dark skin recipe. The Army Painter Fur Brown has a slight pink hue to it that I think works fantastic for dark skin tones. This is the same recipe that I used for Adila from Cthulhu Death May Die. It worked great for her, so I figured why not use it here also. Vallejo Orange Brown has become my favorite initial highlight color for dark skin. And notice that I'm not doing any color mixing with these layers. I'm moving from one color to the next without any blending layers or mixing colors. This exposed skin area is so small that there really isn't much room to glaze smooth transitions or lay down 5 layers of paint one on top of the other. I can just build up these few colors as shadow, midtone, and highlight layers and call it good. The final highlight color is ice yellow. I bet you didn't see that coming. This is very similar to my universal skin recipe that I use on all levels of skin pigmentation, except for the inclusion of the fur brown in this particular model. This ice yellow can appear a little bright and sometimes chalky, so it's perfectly okay to go back to your midtone color and thin it way down with water to glaze over these highlights. A mix of heavy khaki and German camo black-brown will be the next layer of color on the pants. I'm applying this mostly to the raised surfaces that are facing up and to the character's right. This is from where I imagine the normal light source to be coming. So basically, I'm going to build up the highlights on the model facing away from the OSL. And as I'm doing this, I realize that I have already painted the leather straps that are around her thighs with fur brown, but I must have missed recording that little bit. I use heavy khaki for the mid-tone color and follow the exact same procedure as before, but simply cover a little less of the raised surface area. This khaki is so neutral that it allows me to be quite creative with the highlight color in the next step. Nah, I'm fucking with ya. I'm using ice yellow. There are a couple of things to note with this step. First, this is the brightest highlight. I don't want to use pure ice yellow for these highlights because I don't want them to compete with the highlights on the face. Second, I'm adding these highlights with short strokes and some stippling to give the pants some texture, which should add some credibility to the material. I'm painting two types of metal on this character. I'm painting a blue-black metal for the gun and armor plating, and I'm painting a gray-black metal for the backpack. Naturally, the gun and armor will start with a base of blue-black. This also makes a great base color for the black hair. Only with the hair, I avoid getting the blue-black into every recess. That way, the hair still has some pure black shadows. For the blue-black metal, I proceed to highlight with a series of blue-gray colors. Iron Wolf goes over every single edge and most raised surfaces. This can be slapped on pretty quick. Super simple, non-metallic metal like this doesn't have to be an overly laborious process. Just have fun, and no matter what happens, it'll still look better than using metallic paint. I hit every upward-facing edge with Wolf Gray and apply it to some of the vertical edges as well. I'll scratch it into place on any large smooth bits of metal, making sure to center it within the Iron Wolf layer. I know that last comment about metallic paint was kind of a dick thing to say, but I really do feel that it cheapens the look of a painted miniature. I think that even a quick application of colors like I'm doing here is an improvement over metallic paints, and it really doesn't take that long. Finally, a little glacier blue gets dotted in here and there to simulate little glints of light. This is also the only color that I use to highlight the blue-black in the hair. I follow a very similar series of steps for the Heavy Gunner's backpack. I base coat the pack with Necromancer Cloak. I use Uniform Gray to edge highlight and hit some of the smooth raised surfaces of the pack. Finally, I selectively edge highlight with Ash Gray. The final piece of the puzzle is to quickly knock out those casings on the base. For those, I use yellow ochre and just swipe it over the tops of the casings. The black primer means that the shadow color is already in place. I generally don't like to spend too much time on bases. I can guarantee that no one is going to inspect your shell casings and criticize their worth. At this point, I'd like to thank my channel members for supporting all that I do here. You too can become a channel member and support the channel by using the link in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to join our growing community of alien hunters.